is it particularly strong in that linebacker group too, where we've got, Jacob, Zach have been in the system for a season. You got Will's played a lot. You're down Carson, but Jack played a lot. You see a lot of guys who have played. Yeah, we have, and and even the young guys that have gotten here, Kale and that group, Bo Goodwin has had a really good camp. I just think it's been, again, we've forced them, kind of gave them water through a fire hose per se, and forced them to learn the defense and learn how to play, and threw them in there against the ones and the twos and the threes, and just kept rolling them in there. And there were some good days and some bad days, but you just keep learning. And as long as you're, as Coach always says, grow forward, we've been able to do that with those guys.
We talked to Jeremiah here a little bit ago. This is his first full off season, I guess. He's not been dealing with an injury or whatnot, but what are the differences that you've noticed in him just because of that? I just think his mindset, got a smile on his face every day. I think that's been the one thing that you see. He's thankful and grateful for that opportunity. So you feel that spirit about him, which has allowed him then to go out and help lead. And I think that's critical for a guy like that. He's always been a great player for us. Been battling some of those off the field injury things, and then sometimes it's hard to be the leader when that's the case. And I think you really have seen him kind of develop, a spirit about our team and our group. And, shoot, he's up to, I think nutrition and strength staff got him up to close to 190 pounds. So that's been a real plus as well, but he's done a great job. You mentioned a few of those younger linebackers. Can you expand upon that as far as maybe some of the other positions, young guys that are really turning your head?
I mean, you would start with, with, I guess, the young guys, guys like Mason Miller and Cale Brazina. I'm sure I'm going to forget somebody. Bo Goodwin, those guys. Rylan Barnes has had a great camp. Nick Reineke's had a great camp. I mean, that whole group is, man, you watch them compete, and you put them in there with, the two sometimes, those young kids, and they handle themselves, and they're physically developed. I think that's been a blessing of all that group. They're physically strong, and the weight room's been good to them, and their high school programs, and so they've been a real plus for us from a depth standpoint.
With a couple returning names, a few newcomers at cornerback, how have you seen that competition start to develop? Yeah, it's been exactly that. I think the competition with, kind of watching, Tez and Miles and DP, watching all those guys compete, that threesome has been, and it's every day. It's a battle, and they all want to go against Jaden and Jalen, and they all want to compete against the best guys and do all that. And then, I think the young group, Matthew Bess and Ron Robinson and Mason DeBrava, and I just think there's been some guys there that you're trying to bring along as quickly as possible. It's a little more detailed out there than probably D-line and linebacker, so you got a few more things happening to you. And then, 6 inches is a touchdown, so it's a little bit more delicate there. But those guys have done a good job, and we'll continue to grind them. I mean, we're going to need them, so we'll continue to do that.
You talked last year about your defensive line feeling like there were guys that could be the next Jaquan, the next Will. What are you seeing from that group and their evolution towards that? Yeah, I think it's been really good. I think, man, you start, with Ike Ikena, Samuel Same, Joey Peterson, Kennard Snyder, Trent Jones, that whole group, we've been able to kind of roll those guys at that rush spot a little bit at that field end that Will has played and kind of made infamous in his own way. That's a different position than most of the others on the field. Those guys have all gone in there and played well. There is some twitch there and some movement there, and it's fun to see it. Those guys have really developed, and I think Coach Rashid and Coach Stalker, I think those guys have done a good job of working on the pass game, and that's an improved area, I feel like, and we'll see here soon.
Sticking with the defensive line, Coach Campbell, Coach Rashid, they've all talked about potentially using a 4-man defensive front a little bit more. As a coordinator, what have you seen from those packages throughout camp? Yeah, them guys must be having private meetings or something. We're using, I mean, we always have. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, I don't know that it's more than we have. I think it's been in addition to what we've always kind of done.
We did it some at the end of the season, a little bit a year ago. And then we're trying to do it out of our speed, our dime package, on some third downs and those kind of things. So it's not a lot different than we've done. Feel like we've got more guys that gives us, game 2, game 4, game 12, 11, wherever it's at, you've got some people you can keep getting in there. And I think, we ran a little bit a year ago, just having enough guys to be in a 4-man front, to be fair. And so I think it's the depth we've developed, those guys have developed. It's been a lot of fun. It gives us another avenue to keep some guys on the field if we decide to go that direction. So it's still a work in progress, but I just feel good we've added pieces to really kind of what we've done, and I think it'll help us, with the numbers.
You talked there about the depth of the defensive line. How many of those guys do you feel comfortable playing consistently after returning every starter, adding Kennard and the development of some young players?
Yeah, well, you need pairs and spares at every spot, so you would say at least 6, and spares at all of those would be 9. I feel like we've probably got 8 or 9 that I would feel comfortable throwing out there. Some of those guys are a little more, maybe even a 10th guy as a specialist in the pass rush game. Miles Mendezun's made incredible improvement. It's kind of been fun to watch him. And so he's been a guy that's been added to that front that, again, gives you some depth to get to maybe 4 guys to rush the quarterback in a third down kind of thing. So he's been a pleasant surprise. So there's a good group there. I'm excited about them. They've worked really hard, really hard.
John, there's always a lot of unknowns going into a season opener. What are you most anxious to find out about your defense?
I think, who's going to lead, and when things don't go good, what's going to happen. I think you never know until you're put in a fire. We've tried to do a great job. Coach Campbell does as good a job as anybody I've been around of putting, chaos into practice, forcing you to, in a bad situation and a turnover here or something crazy there. And he brings chaos to practice that kinds of force you to see, how you're going to respond. But you never know. I think it's like all of us in real life. Like, we never know who anybody really is until, it hits the fan a little bit, and then how are you going to respond? And I think that'll be the biggest thing. I'm proud of this group. I think the work ethic and the competition that, out there every single day. You show up on defense and you're not ready to play, it'll be a quick 6. Like, it's going to happen really fast. So that's been the most, I think the one thing that's really been, the iron sharpens iron thing. I think it's really helped us on our side. There's been some days we've got our brains beat in, but there's days we have had success. So I think how you respond in the tough situations, and there'll be some the very first game next Saturday. There'll be tough situations and, bad plays, and how are you going to respond? And that's how you find out what kind of team you have at that point in time.
Coach, when you are able to have Malik and Jeremiah and Bo out there on the field at the same time, what kind of comfort level does that give you, knowing their level of experience and talent?
Well, it always does, John. I think anytime you can add experience in the back end, and, even those 3 corners have played a lot of football, but we've never gone through a season here with just 3 safeties. And I think that's been the main focus of the weight room, nutrition, the coaches teaching, the pressure to learn, applying pressure to those guys every day, putting them in really hard situations, forcing them to learn. And you've seen guys like Cam Smith and Tayshawn James and Osley Thorson, and you've just seen a group of guys, JMO, just seen guys come along, a couple of the young guys, Van Dinner, Neal, those guys coming along and provided more competition. And so we've got to find a way to find the next group, and we're still working to do that. But I've been excited about that group. They're hungry, they love football, and the chaos, it's fun to watch the young kids because the chaos can get them sometimes, but this group, it has not. It has been chaotic. It has not been real clean, but it isn't because of the chaos. And I think that's what's been kind of enjoyable to me to watch, because when the moments get really big, they get mad, but they don't get frustrated, if it doesn't go how they thought it should. So that's a good thing.
Can you describe a little bit the chaos that Matt puts in practice, or how he goes about doing that?
I got about, 11 years, Miles? 11 years of chaos at practice? Yeah. It's just, it's who Coach is, man. He and that's what football is. And like I said, all of a sudden there's a field goal, and then the next thing you know, there's a sudden change period, and every situation you could ever think of gets, man, we're putting the ball down, and you got a script of what you think's going to happen, but it never is that way. And so as a coach, then you're forced to think, oh man, that just changed. I thought I was just going to cruise through practice and read off my script. Well, now I'm not reading off my script, and I have to think, and what's the situation, what's the time, who's on the field on offense, and so it really forces you to play the game, which is what we're going to do here really soon. So it's controlled chaos, but it's, yeah, that script you get to start practice is fake. It's fake. Yeah, that may be too. I haven't seen, you probably, I haven't seen it, so there you go. But we appreciate y'all. Thanks. Yep.